everybody. It's been a while since I've had a chance to post, and I've been going through a little bit of personal issues here. I lost my dad last year, and that's really had a heavy impact on my family. And as a lot of you know, my mom had her stroke in 2020, and we've been taking pretty good care of her and making sure that she's on her road to recovery. But that does take up a lot of our time, and I've been focused in that direction, and that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today anyway. So that's really why I decided it was time to maybe try to put something up. I want to talk about how much is enough when the time comes for you to have to step up and do something. Last week, we got invited to a birthday party for the oldest son of one of the young men that we fought for in the streets, whose life was stolen by the Sheriff's Department in East LA. His name was Rigoberto Arceo. His son turned 21, and they were a big part of the Young Survivors movement, which really focused on finding a positive outlet for these young men and women whose fathers and sometimes mothers have been stolen from them through police brutality and violence. He was one of the first kids that we worked with, and one of the things that struck me about both Chris and Nate was how hard they fought. Chris was the older brother, Nate looked up to him, but they were both out there because their mom knew what happened to their dad was wrong, and something had to be done about it. And when we found out, that's how we met, and we went out there to support them, and we became good friends and close allies, and we started to fight for each other and stand up for each other. And I was very grateful to be invited to this party to get a chance to celebrate Chris's life, his entry into adulthood. While I was there, I got to see another old friend of ours who also lost her husband to police brutality, was left alone to raise his daughters, and they were there. And it was just, for me and my son, Owen, it was a blessing to see these families thriving after having endured such a terrible, terrible tragedy that no one cares about unless you've been through it. One of the things that comes up that I hear a lot, and I ask myself this question all the time, but we were there and we were just talking about, how good everybody's doing and how happy we are for everybody and for Chris. And, the subject got brought up of, sometimes I feel like I haven't done enough. Sometimes I feel like I haven't fought hard enough, and sometimes I feel like there's still more to do. And that's a hard question. That's a hard reality to have to face, And after you've lost somebody, you have to get on your feet and find out what you're going to do about it, Are you just going to lay down and take it? Which is understandable, because this is a hard battle. Or are you going to fight back and try to make an impact? I can testify to both sides of that decision. When I was a young child, about 9 years old, and I've told this story before, a good friend of my mom and dad's, the best friend, was living with us at the time, was murdered by the Southgate police. He was hung in his cell. This was in 1986, I believe, and maybe 85. I have to go back and look it up. My mom and dad, it destroyed their lives. It created a huge crater in their lives, just like it does with the families that we see today. But what they didn't have was a support system. What they didn't have was camera phones. What they didn't have was organizing tools at their fingertips. They were really held hostage by the police state of the time. And even though my mom, and anybody that's met my mom since knows my mom's a fighter, she likes fighting, she fights back. When she tried to start fighting back then, she got implicitly threatened that, if she continued to fight or try to raise awareness about what had happened to Victor Ortega, that something could happen to her kids here in Southgate. And when my mom, and especially my dad, found out about that, it was a no-brainer, because they weren't going to lose their kids, they weren't going to lose their family. We were already just barely hanging on. And what happened instead, My mom and dad both had to internalize that grief, that suffering, and that injustice. And it created huge, huge problems for both of them and our family, you know. Took decades to recover. And I feel like when Mikey got killed, you know, for both my mom and I, it was a chance to actually fight back. It was a chance to make an impact, not just for Mikey, but for Victor. And I think my dad, as afraid as he was still for our safety, he couldn't argue and supported us as best he could, even though, you know, my dad was the one who understood what could happen out there. My dad's a young, and now he's passed away, but at the time was a young Mexican man, you know, disposable in society's eyes, and knew it. And, you know, didn't want me to risk my life, or didn't want my mom to risk her life or safety or security, you know, for something that he thought couldn't be won. I believe he changed his mind. I believe that after he saw the work that we did and the impact that we made, you know, I hope I brought some peace to my dad's heart. I know for a fact it did for my mom. Being able to fight back, being able to stand up and say, hey, this is wrong. What's happening here is wrong, is huge. It's empowering. It changes you as a person. It gives you the power that you're going to need to survive whatever comes next. And so the difference between Victor dying and Mikey dying is that we fought back. And it didn't destroy my family. It tested us. But the impact that we made a difference, not just in the world around us, but on the world inside of us. We fought back. We didn't take it. We didn't let this just happen to us, you know? And that's what I want to get at right now, is that if, you know, this has happened to you, or this is something that you're struggling with, or something that, you know, you have to feel like you have to take every day, fight back. Fight back, you know, with everything you got for as long as you can. Some people, it might not be very long because of everything you have to juggle in life and everything that you have to deal with, you know. But if you just take that one moment to fight back, it will empower you. It will change you. And it will make you the survivor, not the victim. Okay? And that's what I think I want to make clear right now, is that all you have to do is fight back. You don't have to win. You don't have to make it to the finish line. You don't have to change the entire system because you're just one drop in a bucket. But if you fight back, if you choose not to take this, if you choose to take a stand, if you choose to resist this injustice that has touched your life, you will find the strength that you need to carry on for the rest of it. You will find the inspiration that you need to lead the people that you love out of the darkness. Okay? Let the professional protesters and the activists and the organizations worry about staying in the fight and worrying about committing to fighting to the end. All you've got to do is fight until you can stand on your own. All you've got to do is fight until you feel human again, whole again. And something that's even better than fighting is helping somebody else who's struggling. And that's one of the things that we do very well, because we understand what other people are going through. So if you can't fight back like you want to, help somebody else. Support somebody. Keep them going. Let them know they're not alone. Okay? Because that's what makes the difference here. That's what makes the impact. And if you can just say that you did that you didn't take it lying down, that you didn't let this happen to you, that you fought back, that you stood up and took a stand, then that becomes the kind of person that you are. That begins to define you. And then the people around you become inspired. And that's how the world around you changes. And when everyone's world around them starts to change, the world starts to change. So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to give it all you got and then have to give up or pause or pivot. Okay? Just fight back. That's enough. It's enough to stand up and say, this is wrong. It's enough to stand up and say, I'm not going to take this. It's enough to stand up and say, we're together on this. So fight back, because that's all you have to do. Thank you for taking the time to listen. Like I said, I'm sorry that it's been so long since I've been able to post, but I hope you understand. And I know if you know my family, you do. And if you don't, use your imagination. Thank you.